Okay, everybody, part two. So I left off with the beginning of your big project, the value still life assignment. And I do want you to work large. You should work larger than your sketchbook. It's actually harder to shade in a small space, especially the more complex something is, it's easier to have a little more room to get into the details. So I recommend working on a larger sheet of paper, and depending on what you got, it might be 12 by 16. This is what 18 by 24 looks like. So we're making some fun posters with my son, and this is a really awesome size. But there's also a lot of my shading demonstrations happen on here. So drawing at this size also gives you room to move, okay? And so this was a still life that I had set up. But you do want to set up some objects, some simple objects. Don't do more than 3. You know, keep it simple. And you got to have at least 2 objects. Because if you have just one by itself, you don't have anything to compare it to for proportion and size relationships. So an example would be, you know, if I was drawing my bucket of brushes, right? And this is a certain size. You know, it's hard. If I put the egg next to it, now I have a size comparison of what size is the egg in comparison to the bucket. And that really does help you as you're building your first composition. I want you to spend at least 2 weeks on this to build that shading. And you can work on this simultaneously while you're practicing those skills. You know, it's going to start out like this. You might even have this for your process. This is all you might have this weekend. And if you've got this and you've got some shading practice, that's all you need. You're good to go. You're good to go. I would say that having your sphere in your sketchbook done, having your still life set up, and your line drawing going for your still life is right on track. Because then you can spend all of next week continuing to build value and build shading. And you'll see in the videos and demos how that's done. These are 2 of my favorite Sedals from last 2 years ago. And I think Hayden was actually in the same class. And you can see they both have a very different approach. We had like 4 still lives set up in class. But they're both really, really excellent compositions, use of charcoal, and using that shading to create that illusion of depth, 3D. So those are also your goals for the assignment, a good composition, and using value to create the illusion of form where things are round, and depth and space. The purpose of the halfway point is also it's a learning point. It's a reflection time to think about what you're doing, is heading in the right direction, and to get some feedback. That's the best way to use critique, and learning how to critique and learning how to take critiques constructively is a big part of our learning objective. So share some good reflections and share some questions. If you've got questions, share them in this process critique so that we can use the critique to help each other, okay? And let's keep that tone very helpful, positive, constructive. It doesn't have, it actually shouldn't be like the critiques that we see on TV. You know, it's not about cutting somebody down and pointing out everything that's wrong. It's about showing them how to make it the best it can be. And if you practice doing that, you learn how to do that with yourself. And then you can look at your work and say, okay, how do I make this the best? How do I get to the finish line? And you won't get to that finish line until May 16th. We'll work on this for 2 weeks. Your second sketchbook, just keep practicing. You should be practicing every week. So I'll be collecting a sketchbook every week. The sketchbook should not be the same as the finished drawing. It should have other practices in here. And, you know, even if you're good at shading, get better. You know, and if you're not good, get good. So what I'm really looking for is wherever you are, that you are growing and improving. And that's what's most important for me as I'm grading. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a great week. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll see you later in the office hours. And I'll be sharing some content on extra credit and a service learning opportunity that's coming up this week. The Edmonds Powwow is this week, and I'll be hosting an artist talk on Thursday, but there's some other events in the powwow you can attend, and there's a service learning opportunity. So I'll be sharing that, and extra credit is running all quarter long. You can do extra credit for service learning or arts and cultural engagement. So that could be something like going to a virtual museum or a virtual gallery, attending, you know, like an artist talk. I'm going to navigate here to our extra credit discussion. This will run through to the end of class. There's a couple of links here to our campuses, Cecil and service learning, but some other things that you can explore and go beyond this list. You share your reflection of what you learned, what you thought here, and I give you 20 points per activity. So, all right, I hope that you can attend and have a great week and take good care of yourselves and each other.